Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rika Azzhara and I'm from the National Relation Department, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. In this occasion, I'm going to present my paper. The title is Student Perception Towards Media Accountability During Pandemic Covid-19. So for the outline of my presentation, the first is introduction, the second is literature review, the third is research method, the fourth is the result and then the discussion, and the last is conclusion. The public consumption of information in the media continue to increase during this pandemic COVID-19. And as a source of information, media is like two sides of coin. It has both positive and also negative impact, especially the emergence of hoax information that challenge the public trust toward media. And this make the society become more critical in observing the narrative delivered and questioning the accuracy of media since the flood of information of COVID-19. And this is still a little research that discuss public trust during pandemic COVID-19, especially among the students. And this research conducted to examine the students' perception toward media accountability during COVID-19 and their expectation of the media's role. So to obtain this objective, the research question might be the first is how student perception toward media during this pandemic COVID-19, and then what is the reason of the student for trusting and not trusting the media, and then what are the expectation of the student to media regarding the roles and function that must be carried out. So before continue to the further discussion, we should know the theoretical framework. So what is trust? Trust is having confidence and positive expectation to the others, and trust become relevant to communication field. According to Lips, trust in the media may be based on a person's belief in journalistic, in a professionalism of journalistic practice. And what is media? According to Bungin, mass media is defined as a medium of communication and information that disseminates mass information and can be accessed by the public at large. In terms of meaning, mass media is a tool or means to disseminate information, content, news, opinion, comment, entertain, and so on. So we will move to the empirical review. And research on media communication during a pandemic has been conducted. The first is the research conducted by Saifuddin in 2012. It discussed the role of media in the middle of COVID-19. And the result is that the mass media has a central role in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, especially for spread of information and so on. And the second research is conducted by Lee in 2011 regarding the correlation between trust and the use of media. And the study finds that students have more trust in traditional news or news source and view TV as their most important news source. Yet they are more likely to seek out a news from online, despite having less trust in them. And there's also a survey that conducted by YouGov that in 18 May 2012 showed that the level public trust during pandemic, and the survey show the level of public trust in receiving information. Indonesia still have a quite high level of trust in the media, namely in 98%. we're going to move to the research method. So the study is quantitative approach. In the study, the primary data collected by using questionnaire instrument, and the secondary data through the literature study and previous research. And the data collection technique was systematic random sampling in 8 faculties at Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta with a total sample of 220 respondents. And the analysis used descriptive analysis to describe and explain the fact based on the data that we got. And after collecting the quantitative data, the researcher began to evaluate the number of participants and analyze all the answer and accumulate the data. Then the researcher makes conclusion based on important point of the participant answer. We will move to the result. The study already compiled using Google Form that examines student perception toward media accountability during this pandemic COVID-19. And this data collection divided into 2 aspects. The first is use close-ended question, and the second is use open-ended question. And before going to the result regarding the frequency, level of trust, and expectation to the media, we must know the characteristic of the respondent based on gender, age, and their educational background. So the respondent came from different educational background, from health, agriculture, law, social, economic, language, religion, and engineering. And the respondents are aged between 20 until 25 years, and 3 per 4 of the respondents are female, and 70% of the respondents cost spent between 50,000 until 100,000 for access the media information per month. And in terms of mainstream media, the majority of the respondents use online news media with 85% of the vote. A half of respondents access the media for 1 until 3 hours per day, and 70% of the respondents are quiet trust, and the main reason for the respondent in trusting information from the selected mainstream media because of the data and fact they presented. And in terms of social media, the majority of the respondents use Instagram with 35% of the vote, and as much as 40% access the media more than 6 hours per day. And 65% of the respondents are quiet trust, and the main reason for the respondent in trusting information from the selected social media because of the role to balance official information from a certain institution. And for the open question, we classified the respondents' answer through the table. According to the table, more than half of respondents, exactly 212 people, found mainstream media are trusted because of the data and fact presented, and the rest argue that the mainstream media are rarely choose because not attractive and not up to date. And then sometimes it contains the hidden interest of certain party, and as many as 11 people think that social media is up to date and the dissemination of information is very fast. So and the rest argue that the source is unclear and there is still many hoax. And regarding the roles and the function of the media in general, the respondents expect The improvement of the media, such as present accurate information based on the data and fact, become independent and not influenced by other parties, more selective and not to spread hoax. We will move to the discussion. This study showed that the student considered that both mainstream media and also social media has an important role in disseminating information, primarily during pandemic COVID-19. And this can be seen from the frequency they access the media and the cost they pay each month. At least they spend 3 until 6 hours per day to access the media, and monthly they spend around 50,000 until 100,000 rupiahs for the need of information. And the tendency of the student in choosing media is quite diverse. For the mainstream media, the level of trust is relatively high, and as evidenced by 70% of respondents choosing the quiet trust option, and the majority of the respondents, around 84%, prefer to use online news media because of the data and fact they presented. And then for social media, the level of trust slightly below the mainstream media, because those who vote quiet trust were 65% of respondents. And Instagram is the platform most accessed by students to find information. It proven with vote acquisition of 35%. And they are trusting the media because of the role to balance official information from a certain institution. It is in accordance with the survey conducted by YouGov in 18 May 2020 regarding the level of public trust in receiving information. Indonesia still have a fairly high level of trust in media. And in addition, the study by Lee in 2011 strengthened that students have more trust in traditional news source, yet they are more likely to seek out news from the online sources despite having less trust in them. So for the conclusion, the present study has surveyed the student perception towards media during the pandemic COVID-19, and it can be concluded that both mainstream and social media has an important role in disseminating information regarding the development of COVID-19 especially. And it proven by the respondent answer that they are frequently accessing the media and they're willing to pay cost for monthly to just fulfill information needs. And this research showed that the level of public trust in the mainstream media is higher than social media, and the data presented by the mainstream media become the strength to gain public trust. And even though social media widely chosen as a source of information due to the speed and the ease of access, but this power still unable to make respondents perceive that social media as trustworthy media. And it should be noted that the presence of social media is a medium for control and socialization to the public to the check information and not pass on information that is not necessarily true, especially during this pandemic. And in the end, the student expect to improvement of the media, both mainstream and also social media, to present accurate information based on the data and facts, and become independent and not influenced by other parties, more selective, and not to spread hoax. I think that's all. Thank you for the attention. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.